You're listening to the We Are Libertarians Network. Learn more at wearelibertarians.com. Hey, it's Chris Spangle, the host of We Are Libertarians, and I'm here to tell you about our advertiser for this month, and it is the Jason Stapleton program. Jason is a good friend of our show and has been the only guy that we've let buy advertising on our program. You know that we're not really big on paid advertisements, but we believe in what Jason does on a daily basis. He does what we do. He examines current events from a libertarian perspective, and he does it 5 days a week. Go check out Jason's podcast at iTunes. Check out his YouTube channel. It is amazing. His video setup is just so beautiful and professional. Jason is just professional. You know, he's everything that we're not. So visit jasonstapleton.com. You won't be disappointed. It's a highly engaging program, and he's a great guy. And we at We Are Libertarians love Jason, and we want you to love him too. So please, go to jasonstapleton.com and check out his program. Download his podcast, check out his YouTube, and visit jasonstapleton.com. We are supported by listeners like you. Donate per month or make a one-time donation through PayPal or Patreon at wearelibertarians.com. It's Chris Spangle, host of We Are Libertarians, and I want to tell you about our friends at Lions of Liberty. It is a podcast very much like ours. It is a group of guys who are motivated to entertain you and inform you at the same time. They have a show that is released 3 times per week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Friday is Felony Friday. It's a special show about the broken criminal justice system. You can find Lions of Liberty on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and on lionsofliberty.com. Seriously, these guys are great. If you love our show, you're going to love Lions of Liberty. Very similar to what we do. They have conversation about current events. They interview people that are very interesting. While their show is very similar to like ours, they have a lot of different opinions than we do. So I think if you love We Are Libertarians, then you are going to love Lions of Liberty. So get it on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and at lionsofliberty.com. Welcome to We Are Libertarians. I am your host, Chris Spangle. We Are Libertarians brings you all of the irreverence modern politics deserves. We explain to you what the hell is happening in our world today and how we can fix it by thinking differently. This is a podcast brought to you by the We Are Libertarians Network, so please be sure to rate and review us on iTunes, like us on Facebook, share this episode with friends, and support us through PayPal or Patreon. You can find a bunch of our different podcasts at wearelibertarians.com, and don't forget to send us questions and comments via email at editor at We Are Libertarians. Greg Lenz, my faithful co-host, he's dead. He's dead. Greg died, and he's actually outside making a phone call, and we just couldn't wait anymore. I have Brett Bittner here.
I'm too important to wait.
And when you hear Brett Bittner, you think, I've got to get him on the podcast ASAP. I've got to talk to him immediately. I'm just kidding, Never Bittner. This Never Bittner thing is really taken off.
It's awesome. You know, I was in Ohio last weekend.
Yeah.
Speaking.
Right.
And actually, when I was being introduced, had somebody yell from the crowd, Never Bittner! It was awesome. So thank you, Scott Pettigrew, for that.
So I was at the state fair today. I went to the state fair. I wish Greg were here to hear this, because this is funny. And a guy named Tony Snow, a Facebook friend of ours, came up. I think he's a flaming Democrat. And he goes, "Hey man, how are you doing? I love all the memes and stuff, because that's usually what I get. Love all the memes, all the stuff that I don't do anything. That's what I'm known for, is something I've never created in my life. Not my podcast, not my work at my highly successful job.
Nope.
Successful?
Yeah, well, watch out.
Nothing. Memes.
Yeah.
Which I'm fine. Memes are life.
Try being a former elected official and all you're known for is the memes that you're in.
Right. And so I'm at the state fair. This guy walks up. I love the memes. My coworker Josh Arnold was riding the carousel around for a bit. Don't ask. And the guy goes, "Ha ha! Never Bittner!" Because he thought it was you. Because you guys look similar.
Awesome.
Oh, it was so funny. I
love that it's being misapplied.
I know, to people that aren't even Brett Bittner.
Hey, you know, for Never Bittner fans out there, they should know tchip.com/neverbittner2, the second edition,
the second coming of
Never Bittner. It's a navy blue American Apparel shirt this time. I didn't want to get my first edition people. I didn't want to make them feel like they had anything else happening. Instead, you know, we weren't superseding them with the new version of the shirt. The red one is going to be the first edition, and the people that have that one, like Nick Sarwark and a lot of other people who actually featured it in a Facebook Live video recently.
So basically, you're saying you created your own Brett Bittner VIP club.
Yeah, I did. And everybody who has a red Never Bittner shirt, my sister has one, I found out. Because I was trying to push the second version onto my mom and sister. Found out that my sister has the red Never Bittner shirt.
Nice.
And so she's not buying the navy blue American Apparel one. But you should at tchip.com/neverbittner2.
So at the state fair today, somebody walks up, a Facebook fan, and goes, "Hey, love the memes." And then Josh Arnold, my coworker, went around on the carousel, and the guy goes, "Ha ha, Never Bittner," because he thought it was Brett. We're just talking about how this Never Bittner has really taken off, and then he started plugging himself.
Of course.
Are you making money on? Is all the money going to you?
No, actually, at least $5 from each shirt. I'm not sure what the margin is between what's paid and what I pay for the shirts, but at least $5 of each shirt that I'm selling for the Never Bittner 2.0 shirt will go to Rex Bell for governor.
All right, which is a worthy cause, which is why we'll allow you to mention it. Not going to We Are Libertarians this time, but whatever. So,
hey, I understand there's a live show on Monday that I'm apparently the only one in the world that knows about.
It's not this Monday. It's the last Monday of the month.
Isn't it the 25th, the last Monday of the month?
No, it's in 2 weeks.
Okay.
There is a live show.
If you say so.
Well, let me see here.
I'm unaware of this.
There is a live show, yeah.
There's a live show.
The last Monday, it's the 29th.
Well, by God.
29th. Okay, I had the dates wrong.
Of August?
Listen, just because you can't get yourself together, I'm not taking the heat on this one. No, it's. I have not finalized it with Morty's. We're dragging our slow little feet.
I understand it's not on the calendar. According
yes.
to the Wall Superfan.
Right.
They're balking at our writer.
No, they said yes. Well, when I demand my own Christy Avery at every show, then it's hard to get Christy these days. She's in demand, so the club is having trouble getting a hold of her. She's at Fump Fest, which is Dr. Demento Fan Fun Fest, and we are actually sponsors. I don't know if you knew this.
No idea.
Yeah,
All right.
Christy goes, "Hey, do you want to sponsor this?" I was like, "I don't want to pay money." She goes, "I'll pay for it." I go, "What? Cool, man. Fump Fest it is."
All right. By God. America.
Yeah, so are you free on the 29th?
Sure. Of August?
Yeah.
Like August 29th?
Yeah.
So we're like
2 weeks from
less
Monday.
than 2 weeks.
Like 11 days from now.
11 days from right now?
We'll get it together.
We were supposed to be taking August off.
No, we took July off.
July off.
Oh. Okay. I'll be there.
I haven't had a chance to talk to him about it, and I haven't had a chance to talk to the club about it, and I'm just like, and then Christy was like, "Are you doing the live show?" I was like, "Oh yeah."
Yeah, I mentioned the live show when it was on Facebook today.
Right.
I was like, well, we're recording 2 things tonight, and then we have the live show coming up, and I thought it was this coming Monday.
No. Yeah, that'd be insane.
Yeah, that would be.
I was like, I really need to get this together.
Well, I'm glad that I could prompt that.
Last time about turnout,
I don't just given up.
Giving up hope.
Listen, my
Turnout's been strong. I can't,
I'm building anticipation. It's like a rave.
Okay, it's a flash mob live show podcast.
Excellent. With no promotion.
None.
I have a new.
Hell, Morty's may not be open. We might just have to do this thing in like 95-degree heat in Indiana, August 9th.
I am pretty sure I can get us into the Chick-fil-A next door.
Oh.
Well, we might have to do it in the ball pit, but I can get us in.
Oh,
okay.
I've done a podcast from Ball Pit before.
I bet you have.
Listen, I'm on a new life motto, Greg. Listeners of this program over the last 4 years have seen many seasons of Chris Spangle. There's been many, many different epochs. My new epoch, EPOCH, is the just not giving a darn. We got a letter from a listener. And he goes, "Listen, man, I love the show, but you got to put a tag if you're going to Aunt Donna an episode or something." Because I was listening at work and you Aunt Donna'd out because I was listening to the Aunt Donna episode. Man, you need to warn a brother. so I'm going to try and not curse as much. But yeah, I'm just at a fit. The current mood is, listen, if you all don't want to come to We Are Libertarians Live, then that's your fault. We're awesome. So
winning. I'm by winning. I win here. I win there.
You don't want to show up and get entertained? Fine.
Do something else with your Monday night.
I don't care.
Go to book club.
Go right to hell, you status scum.
Yeah.
You'll be first. Everybody who doesn't show up on the 29th, which Greg and I have agreed are doing,
Fantastic.
we're going to throw you right out of a helicopter.
That's right. Pinochet. Free helicopter rides. Forcibly remove Democrats and communists.
All right, can we talk about that just briefly? Like, what is it? So this is a thing that James Neese started it. It seemed like, and then all of a sudden,
Pinochet started it in Chile,
and then everybody's throwing things out of helicopters, mostly Democrats
and communists,
right.
so to speak.
So what is this?
So so Chile implemented some very conservative economic reforms, and there was a strong opposition.
Right.
And so he decided that rather than trying to compromise with those who opposed him and his reforms, he decided a different route.
Throwing them out of helicopters.
He threw them out of helicopters.
Okay. And
forcibly removed, so to speak, Hans Hermann Hoppe.
And so Hans Hermann Hoppe,
HHS removal services.
Hans is a libertarian thinker of probably the Mises school, right?
I think so.
Yeah. He decided to endorse this route, or what was this?
No, he got in trouble at UNLV because one of his books said that he's not a Democrat. He doesn't believe democracy is the best form for libertarianism. He believes in monarchy or elite, top-down, centrally planned mandatory freedom. And in order to create such a society, there tends to be an obvious need to remove those who oppose you.
Forcibly remove them,
so to speak.
So it's dictatorial libertarianism.
Pretty much.
So
and then it turned into Pinochet and helicopters, and anyone that disagrees with me gets a free helicopter ride.
So he, this libertarian thinker was advocating throwing people out of a helicopter for disagreeing.
Trust me, the irony is not lost. He never advocated for throwing them out of helicopters. It just seemed like a natural pairing. Physical removal. Helicopter rides.
Okay.
Bring the two together.
I fact, asked Rex Bell about it last night in chat. And Jeremiah Morrow says, how high?
I don't know that Rex endorses helicopter rides. Maybe.
He specifically said he did not at 500 feet even.
We don't know about higher or lower, but all right. Well, that's interesting.
Let's be honest. Who doesn't want a free helicopter ride?
I'd love a helicopter ride.
I know. And you don't have anything to worry about. You're going to be fine. It's for the Democrats and the communists that need to be physically removed, so to speak.
That's why I'm guessing the "so to speak" was in his broken.
It's his exact quote in the book. Is Democrats and communists may need to be physically removed, ... so to speak.
Anytime a German says,
hey now,
physical removal, I get nervous.
And it turned into the greatest Facebook page on the entire internet. I mean, it's so, the memes are so epic. It's beyond comprehension. I'm so upset when people aren't totally libertarian nerded out,
right,
and don't understand how funny these memes are, because it's like the idiot's guide to forcible removal with his face on it, or like pushing a girl out of a car because she says she doesn't think taxation is theft.
It's what,
HHH removal services.
Okay, I found an Instagram that I love, Bad Joke Ben. Oh my God. Every one of those memes is a home run. I wanted to share every single one of them.
The highest level of human nature you can aspire to is to be an Instagram meme page.
Oh, yeah. Listen, I follow like 4,000 people. 2,000 of those are black Instagram pages.
Oh, I know. You were obsessed with black Twitter and black Instagram forever.
I still am. That's when I get a free moment, I don't talk to human beings.
When you saw the one about girls being thirsty, and it was that girl underneath the coat. And then you recreated it underneath a ketchup condiment machine and started sending it in chat, and you were in your all neon green with your mid-calf white socks and your white pedo shoes.
So it's
slaying it is what you were. Slaying it.
It's a young lady who is underneath the fountain machine of a Fanta machine, and she's down trying to press the Sprite button and get the drink into her mouth. and it just says, it doesn't say anything. It's just that photo. And
it's thirsty AF.
No, I think it just says, I don't think it says anything. And my boss at the time walked in and he goes, "What is that? That doesn't seem appropriate for your work computer." I go, "It's just a girl who's thirsty." he didn't get it, but I giggled to myself.
I'll never forget, you posted that meme in chat and you were down the rabbit hole. You were like on Reddit r/Black Instagram r/Black Twitter, Black Facebook, and you were sending all these culturally appropriated memes that I found highly offensive.
Listen, I am down with black culture. My Instagram has not had an unblackening. It is quite the opposite.
That's probably the most racist thing I've ever heard. An unblackening.
Listen, I watched a documentary about Martin Luther King last night while looking at black Instagram memes. I'm very, very down.
Then I had a dream.
With the struggle. Before that, I don't, never mind. No, I think that
black culture is delightful.
If the best thing you can do for yourself is black Instagram, because you learn so many things about your fellow Americans that you might not have known.
Building bridges to other cultures.
I follow 5,300 Instagram accounts, so apparently it's the 60% black Instagram. So let's just take a look at Bad Joke Ben. That's a good one.
Are you really reading through these
really
right
going
now?
Through your Instagram feed?
Great radio.
Podcast?
Well,
fantastic.
I just think people need to know where to start. UNGP, Young Poppy, he's a good one. The Best No Chill Zone, that's a good one. Savage Comedy. Listen, Arthur Savage Arthur, the official page for Arthur memes. That
Arthur memes are, oh my.
That is lit, fam.
Yeah.
It is great. Ratchet Hood videos. Yeah. I love Ratchet Hood videos.
I do love that one too.
Street vines. Hood clips. Hood clips is very good. Oh my, I can't say that one. That one says
NWA.
I'm a real. Never mind.
Harry.
Mr. Thirst Trap. That's a good one. Yeah, Mr. Trap Lord. That's Jeremiah Morrell's sister. She's not.
Is she down for the struggle?
She's not a black Instagram.
Oh, I heard you were rather. Dare I say, grabby?
No, I was appropriate. I was appropriate.
Appropriate. I was there.
I wouldn't have called it aggressive.
Mike Pence, not black Instagram. I know it was appropriate. There was a Facebook video where
taken by me, most likely.
Yeah.
Dare I say rapey?
No. That's like I've known her since she was 14, so I don't.
Oh, that certainly makes it better.
Yeah, so it's like I look at her like a little sister. Like when she was 18, I look at her and go, "So you driving yet?" She's like, "I'm 18, you old man." She's too old for me, Greg.
I know.
She's 23.
Right.
So no, she hit me in the back of the head with a ball really hard and damn near gave me a concussion. So retribution had to be swift and difficult. So I went to push her in the pool. I stole her phone first and launched a live Facebook video stream. Interviewed everyone, mostly in the bathroom. And then she found out. She chased me, and then I went to. I handed the phone off to her brother, and then went to throw her in the pool for her Facebook friends. And lo and behold, her brother, that asshole Jeremiah, Lion Jeremiah, pushed me in the pool with her. Which I was very surprised.
So graceful, though.
But once I landed,
like Swan Lake, really.
When I landed,
Seal Lake.
Seal Lake.
When I landed in the pool, Brett will vouch for me. I am graceful. I'm a man of 280 pounds, but in the water, I'm like a fish,
a manatee, even.
No, I'm.
They're very graceful.
No, I'm a seal. I'm just like doing barrel rolls. I'm quite amazing in the pool.
You're more a synchronized swimmer than Phelps.
At one point, I went after Snyder. You know Snyder.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Snyder invited himself to the party.
Oh, God.
Our friend Aaron Ewert, he invited himself to Jeremiah's driveway to vacation for the weekend. He pulled up in his RV and vacation. And, like, the funny thing is Jeremiah in chat, we were, like, planning this weekend. And apparently Greg, it, like, flashed by him, but he didn't think much of it. Like, and we planned the weekend around Aaron Ewert. And then Greg was like, I didn't know.
I had 2 friends in town from Munich, Germany for specifically the weekend. Like, that isn't going to work. And,
you could have brought some Germans.
No, not when it was in Huntington.
I'm just wondering what you were doing in Huntington with 2 Germans.
What were we doing?
Mm-hmm.
Fourth Reich.
That was very explicit.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
There was camping.
It's like
I bet.
It's like Sharknado 4. The first 3 shouldn't have happened. Why would the 4th? Yeah, so how was camping? Camping in...
was there much Arbeit?
I always get a hotel because I don't camp, but...
Yeah, I make money. Why would I want to go to pretend to be poor for the weekend?
No, it's like a private pond, and they fly in sand from the Gulf, and so it's pretty cool. It's legit. It's a golf outing before, and then we hang out and drink beers and tell old war stories. And
my father, he died in the camps. My father died in the concentration camps. You finish the joke if you know it. If you don't, then you're a good soul. Unlike us.
Then you don't need Black Instagram.
You don't? No. Would you like me to read some Black Instagram posts?
We're good.
When yo dick so hard.
Oh my God.
When you hitting it from behind raw. It's really a treat.
We're going down the rabbit hole. What were we going to talk about libertarianism?
Mr. Thirst Trap. Or Mr. Thought Trap. THOT. Which, Brett, stands for that hoe over there.
I'm aware
of
what it means.
All right. I'm just making sure that you're up on your culture.
I am from Atlanta.
Oh, that's right. The Dirty South. Ciara made me a man.
I bet she did.
The video to oh my. All right. So, little Brett Bittner.
You guys are so hood.
The most hood.
My life is like a Luke Bryan video, and your life is like
I've never heard of her.
Furious One.
Never heard of her.
Yeah, I bet.
Joining us is Brett Bittner, the executive director. Is that what you are?
I don't know if you want to be identified at this point.
Yeah, I don't know about this one.
Well, we're going to edit all that out for the advocates.
Okay, good.
So, yeah.
No. Everyone needs black culture.
There's two versions. There is the We're Libertarians version where you get to learn about my black Instagram fetish. I don't know. And then the Advocates for Self-Government version. So, joining us is Brett Bittner, the executive director of the Advocates for Self-Government. See, that's where their version began. And he joins us to talk a little bit about the Libertarian movement, and we're celebrating the launch of Libertarianism.com. Now, Libertarianism.com is a storied website. It has a rich history.
Very rich.
Rich history. It was something before, and then I became the marketing director of the Advocates and made it great again. I built Libertarianism.com into a great website that everyone loved. And then Brett Bittner became the executive director, and he ruined it.
It finally started winning again.
Right.
And that's what the advocates needed, was for Libertarianism.com to start winning again.
And if you want to see my version, it's at We'reLibertarians.com. And you can go to the path to libertarianism and see
all these flavors, and you choose salty.
All of them.
And,
salty.
But if you want to see the Bittner version, you can go to the
better version.
You can go to the Libertarian. Explain the Libertarianism.com.
So
for the
Libertarianism.com is taking the world's smallest political quiz and then going to the next step. The world's smallest political quiz has been around for about 30 years, just as long as the Advocates for Self-Government. It's a great outreach tool. I've always felt that there was something missing, and that was always the next step. And that was what, in the almost 4,000 opportunities I've had to give the quiz, I kind of incorporated those conversations into what we have today, which is a predefined path based on your outcome of your political tendency, which is what the quiz measures. So you go to libertarianism.com, take the world's smallest political quiz, go ahead and get the score and learn more. You're going to go through a predetermined path based on your outcome, whether it's authoritarian, whether it's conservative, liberal, centrist, or even libertarian. The idea is that we are working to persuade people and convert people to be more libertarian.
So, we talked on the previous episode a little bit about what we believe libertarianism to be, and what we believe it to be is what it is.
If you don't like that, get the hell out.
Yeah, we have a helicopter for you. But there are people who might disagree with us. You see, the way that I view libertarianism is more like a Democrat system than a Republican system. Where Republicans, it's always kind of top-down power. Democrats have more of a coalition party. And so there's many different belief systems within the Democratic Party: the socialists, the progressives, the liberals, the Southern conservative Democrats. You have the group you have advocacy groups like Move On, or Latino rights groups or Black rights groups or whatever, and they all come together and work for a common cause. Libertarians need to be a little bit more like the Democrats and accept that there are ideological differences. We have a very hard time accepting.
Chris, there was that time in 1987 where you voted against my bylaws amendment, right. And we can never be on the same side of an issue ever again.
Yeah, there's a little bit in the
seconded.
Yeah, we believe we generally are highly intelligent people. We generally believe that we are right, and we are stubborn about it. And I think that might be just culture. That might be human nature. But we have to start accepting that we've got to be a little more ideologically open. There's many different types of libertarians. So, Brett, if you had to identify the different libertarian groups, what would you say are some strains of libertarianism?
Well, you obviously have the political that are involved in the political process. They're working to elect candidates.
And that could be in the Libertarian Party, the Republican Party,
absolutely.
Even the Democratic Party.
I'm looking at it just from libertarians and what their outlet is. You have some that are philosophical think tank type folks. They're focused on research and providing facts, figures, and statistics. You have the entrepreneurs, the ones who are bringing about things like Uber, Lyft, Airbnb, PayPal. All of those things are very entrepreneurial. They're working to realize a need. They see a need. They want to take care of it. They are looking to revolutionize the world through innovation. And then you have the educational libertarians, the ones who aren't really interested in politics per se. They aren't really philosophical in that they're research based and that kind of thing. They're just out there to spread the message, and there are plenty of people that fall into that camp as well. And I really do kind of see that's where we are in the different types of libertarians that are out there.
Yeah, I mean, Greg, you're newer to libertarianism than Brett and I. Really, the last 3 years or so. I mean, what are some of the different types of strains of libertarianism that you see?
Well, I naturally will lean more towards the philosophical differences that exist within the party, like the people who would be more of the left libertarian leaning, someone who would identify as like a mutualist. Then you have the anarcho-capitalists. Then you have the really constitutional Republicans. And then you have people who sort of don't have a clearly defined libertarian political philosophy, but they are libertarian.
Yeah.
And I think that, the voluntarist strain is more the black and yellow strain. I haven't seen a whole lot of people who I would necessarily classify as like political operatives. That's one thing. Like, you guys are pretty rare in that you are the only very few of the political operatives I've met within the party.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's a symptom of they don't want to create political change and it's just a sample, bias, or if it's something where it's harder to do so because of the resource constraint, and then maybe not coming from a major party and bringing those skill sets into the Libertarian Party.
Yeah, it's just a matter of incentive. It's hard to say to somebody, "Hey, leave your sphere of influence and
come here and be poor,
and come here and make half of what you made."
But we have memes,
right?
The best memes
So yeah, it is difficult, but I do think that is starting to somewhat change. I do think that there is, if you look at the Gary Johnson campaign from this year versus 4 years ago, you see more political expertise working on this campaign than 4 years ago.
Even outside the Johnson campaign, I mean, you saw it with Austin Peterson.
Yeah, absolutely.
In the way that they were operating.
They actually went to conventions, and
you saw PACs that formed
yeah.
To support one candidate or another. I mean, you're seeing a lot more political activity within the libertarian movement as people learn about the things that the D's and the R's have been doing for the last 30, 40 years.
Yeah. So when you come into the libertarian, like any kind of community has their own insiders and people who have influence. And I think once you come into the libertarian movement, there are definitely your influential groups, your influential educational institutions, media outlets. At the top of that is We Are Libertarians. Obviously, it is the most influential. It is the greatest.
The higher, or what is our group newsroom called? I forget.
The group of higher education, the higher education of. I'll have to look it up.
Yeah. Great job, guys.
Yeah, there we go.
Way to be on top of it.
And we even stole it from Limbaugh. That's the sad part.
Yeah. Well, I steal a lot. I can't remember everything that I steal.
The Limbaugh Institute for Higher Conservative Studies.
It's too long for Facebook to know.
We are Libertarians Institute for Higher Educational Studies, or something along those lines.
We are Libertarians Educational Institute of Higher Liberty Learning. That's our Facebook group.
Wow.
Regardless.
But you have the advocates
we totally libertarianed it up and made it complicated and way too difficult.
Wall of text. Way to go.
Walled it up. For a freaking... Ugh.
So you've got the advocates for self-government, which is sort of your... So these are, to me, some of the essential groups that people should check out. Listen, I don't want to put you in the libertarian echo chamber too much, because I do think that we have too much of an echo chamber, just like if you're a conservative, you read Town Hall and Breitbart and Drudge. And if you're liberal,
you Red State.
You read Red State. You read Think Progress and Daily Kos and Rachel Maddow. And you never really branch out. But I think if you're new to the Libertarian Party and you want to get some information, then these
or even just the Libertarian movement. Not just the party.
Yeah, I meant to say movement, because I don't think that it's just a Libertarian Party thing. You can be Libertarian and be Republican. You can be Libertarian and be Democrat. You can be independent.
Completely unaffiliated. Not vote, even.
Even that. And I look at it and I go, Gary Johnson is a Libertarian, but so is somebody like an Adam Kokesh, which is a totally Libertarian insider name. But Adam Kokesh is as much of a Libertarian as Gary Johnson is.
Agreed.
Where Gary Johnson...
I don't believe that if Adam Kokesh were asked that question, he would necessarily agree with that.
No, he wouldn't, but he'd be wrong.
He would be wrong.
Because an Adam Kokesh is somebody who is an anarcho-capitalist, a voluntarist, somebody who doesn't believe in a state at all, where Gary Johnson is somebody who says, I want to move us towards that destination by taking us in a direction, talking about issues and saying, here's where the United States government is, and here's what I can do in this moment to move us more towards liberty, which is a totally different strategy than Adam Kokesh, who says, I'm going to paint the picture of what liberty looks like if we built it today, which are two different strategies. And you don't have to say one is better than the other, one is worse than the other, although some people do, and I find that disagreeable.
Well, it's the light switch versus the dimmer.
Right. So
yes, it is, because Adam Kokesh talks to a potential voter and they say they want tax reform, and he says, come to my armed march on Washington. Gary Johnson says, well, here's the tax plan, here's the plan I have to get elected, and this is how this is the coalition I've built. Right. Come join us and let's see how we do this. It's
a little bit different.
Yeah, Adam Kokesh is a particular brand of vodka, and it is very strong.
Yeah. So, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Nope.
If you're a podcast person, we've got some options for you. You can listen to our friend Roger Paxton of the Lava Flow podcast, and Roger is much more quote unquote down the rabbit hole. Phil, our job is to examine current events, and we have our point of view, which is a little more rational.
I don't know about rational, but it's a little bit more politically palatable for the
right
libertarian informed.
Right, and Roger is on the extreme of that, on the extreme of the libertarian end. And in between, you've got the Johnny Rocket Launchpad, you've got Lions of Liberty, you've got Tom Woods, you've got Jason Stapleton. You can listen to these shows and you can get an idea of what libertarianism is from some of those podcasts. Are there other podcasts that you guys like?
I enjoy Free Talk Live every once in a while.
Is this a podcast?
This is a lifestyle.
I just thought you wanted me to come over here and give opinions and get them on recordings like an archive for when I'm dying.
They'll be playing in the background at your funeral.
This is the only podcast.
No, I listen to Tom Woods. I'll tell you, I don't listen too often to anything that's very anarchist or voluntarist, and maybe that's a flaw of mine. But I feel like I understand their perspective and what their response will be to the given crisis or event of the day, and so that maybe that is a problem I have. But like, I like Tom Woods. He gives an interesting perspective, and he knows a lot about history, and he's a really sharp individual. But outside of that, I don't know. I listen to Lions of Liberty. I like them, although the Gary bashing is getting old by about every libertarian in the Libertarian Party. But yeah, they're all good guys.
So yeah, check those out. Ringing endorsements from Greg Lenz.
There's a Pinochet podcast.
And one day I'm sure Brett Bittner will have his own podcast, and then no other podcast will see. Well, they all.
I've already had one.
Yeah, have you?
It's come and gone.
Oh,
Jason Pye and I used to have one at UnitedLiberty.org, 2009, 2010.
Nice guy, Jason Pye. Like Jason Pye.
Yeah.
So then there's the think tanks. There, I think, are the big three. Or you can disagree with me. And there's Reason Magazine, which isn't really a think tank. So let's stick to think tanks. But there's Mises, the Mises Institute, Mises.org, MISES.
When you said Misesians earlier, I thought,
yeah.
What the hell is this guy talking about? And then I realized that's how OG you are. Like you, God, you are you're establishment as it gets, really.
I try not to.
I hate to break it to you, but you really are establishment.
I try not to flash that too much.
The Misesians and.
What you didn't see is under his shirt he has the big M medallion.
Oh my God. The Cloak and Dagger Society.
So I think that Mises has a lot of good stuff. Cato Institute obviously is a standard as well. And then I think FEE.org is a great think tank that gives you a lot of stuff.
Also, like the things like Brookings Institute, and even if it's Council on Foreign Relations or National Interest or any of those, I mean, they all have really great content. You don't have to believe that intervention is the right way to go about it, but if you want really to be informed, that's where you have to go. Yeah,
you just have to be aware that is not necessarily the libertarian point of view, but I think it's vitally important for a person to listen to the opposite and be able to argue your opponent's point of view.
Yeah, and I mean, even if it's just getting the facts, like Jihadology is a great podcast. Like I listen to that one all the time, and I don't necessarily believe, I would not subscribe to their belief systems, but if you're going to get information, you might as well get it from the source.
Yeah, so other think tanks that you think the big three I think are my mind I think FFF, Future Freedom Foundation is great. FFF.org, I believe.
Hoover Institute
does a pretty good job as well.
They have a good podcast with Richard Epstein called The Libertarian. The Liberty Fund has a couple great websites. The Online Library of Liberty, I think that's really cool. Libertarianism.org is another great kind of it gives you a lot of different older archive stuff that will give you kind of a look back at some things. And libertarianism.org also has some podcasts that I think are really interesting, and
it's a product of Cato,
Institute for Humane Studies.
Definitely Cato.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna go with your. Yeah. Yep. You're right.
I do like. I'm glad that you brought up Institute for Humane Studies. I'm a big fan of IHS, and especially their Learn Liberty series.
Learn Liberty series
of videos are absolutely amazing.
LearnLiberty.org. Yeah, it's great
in the way that they take the issues essentially the issues du jour, and they apply a libertarian look at what's going on, and they really do explain things in a way that I think is very relatable. It's I hate to say simple, but it doesn't get too much in the intellectual weeds, and it's very relatable.
I also like the Heartland Institute. I think they do a great job, have a lot of interesting books, so check out the Heartland Institute. In terms of libertarian news, there aren't a ton of websites out there, but Reason is kind of top dog. Reason Magazine is a great news outlet and gives a lot of great opinions.
The Intercept.
Yeah, with Glenn Greenwald's
friggin'
outfit.
fantastic. And Zero Hedge is another one.
Yeah. Is Ben Swan still...
He's on CBS 46
but
in
his
Atlanta.
site's down, right?
I'm not sure what's going on there.
That.
But he is back on the air. He's in Atlanta now.
Good.
On their CBS affiliate.
Cool.
Wow.
I leave and he fills the void.
I'd say Ben's a hell of a reporter, you know.
I would say one of my favorites that I don't think a lot of people know about, it's produced by Thomas Napster. It's called Rational Review News Digest. And every morning you get an email from these guys with news and opinion that is just really awesome. And it's really your libertarian prep service. I mean, it's so great, and it's free. And
about 40 links every morning.
40 links every morning.
Things that are happening.
It's great stuff. Rational Review News Digest. So I really like those guys.
I'm quite partial to the We Are Libertarians daily news roundup.
I am as well, which you can get at wearelibertarians.com. I'm looking, trying refreshing my memory by looking at wearelibertarians.com. This is such a beautiful site. It's so good. I think antiwar.com is also a great site. I love antiwar.com. They're always giving you a bunch of interesting news that you don't hear anywhere else. I mean, and obviously it's about foreign policy. That's kind of the Beacon. We didn't mention the Beacon.
What's going on with that?
The Independent Institute.
Is it just done?
I don't think so.
Like, I just feel like their content has went from, like, you know, really premium content to, man, I don't know what's going on with that website.
Yeah. And then there is Stossel, John Stossel and Kennedy, both on Fox Business, the Fox Business Network, two libertarian folks. There's another great podcast that we failed to mention called The Fifth Column with Matt Welch, and I can't think of the other guy's name. I'm sorry. And it's a great libertarian podcast. So check those out. All very informative stuff. And I will give a plug for Democracy Now!, not libertarian, very progressive, but Democracy Now!, I think, does they intersect with libertarianism a lot. So I think that's worth a listen every day. So I think those are some of the basic outlets that if you're going to get some information from a libertarian point of view.
You know, while we're talking about it, may as well throw Radley Balco, his column.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
The Washington Post.
The Washington Post, and it's absolutely phenomenal.
He is God.
Especially when it comes to justice issues.
Yeah. I mean, he is so personal issues aside, like, the guy is just fantastic as a reporter.
Yeah, so we left out a bunch, and if you go to the We Are Libertarians Facebook page, we've got a news reader, we've got a Liberty podcast player, and we've got links to everything on our links up at the top there. So check that out. We're getting you as prepared as possible for the coming happening. So there's different strains. We talked about those. There's different outlets for you to get your news. There's different thoughts on how to put libertarianism into action. So let's examine some of the ways that people spread the message of liberty and put libertarianism into action. Brett, what are some of the ways that you can think of?
Well, one of the things that I think people first think of when they're looking at libertarian activism is they're thinking that they're going to be waving signs on a street corner somewhere. And, you know, there are times when that's effective, and that's a great activity. Does draw attention.
It's better than nothing.
It is absolutely better than nothing. It's certainly better than liking things on Facebook or retweeting things. Yeah. It's more active than what I like to call slacktivism, where all you're doing is clicking and typing comments and starting internet fights. That is certainly one way to be active. Personally, for me, I'm looking at living a libertarian life. I want to be the shining example of what it means to be a libertarian, and
by forcing yourself on this podcast.
Absolutely,
as heard on a previous episode,
the director of special programs, who is
physical removal,
who has given Wall some of its best episodes.
According to Brett Bittner, all the best episodes.
Brett Bittner gives Brett Bittner 5 stars on Amazon.com. Very pleased with service.
But if you live a very libertarian life. You let people live as they want to. You're walking the walk. You're respecting others. You're living your life in the way that you want to. And at the end of the day, you're going to be somebody who really is that example. You're going to be the person who people look to when they say, "Oh, well, what does it mean to be a libertarian?" Well, you're living your life in the way that you want to live it, and you're treating people the way that you want to be treated. And, we talked about it on an earlier episode about the golden rule. And if you're living that, that's libertarianism in action. And I think that's one of the most libertarian things that you can do is to be that example.
Right.
You're not forcing it on anybody. You're just being that example for people to look at and to help educate what it means to be a libertarian. In fact, when I was speaking in Ohio last weekend, that was the subject of my talk. We were talking about moving libertarians forward. And, for me, it's all about walking the walk, not outsourcing your responsibility to somebody else and doing the things that, you want to do and supporting those who are doing things that they want to do and, treating people the way that you want to be treated. To me, that's the most important level of activism. You have people that are out there that are, they're fighting, they're living the voluntarist life. They are shining examples of that particular, the anarchy of a farmer's market or something like that. They're not voting. Personally, I believe that voting is violence, but I do it in self-defense because I know what the authoritarians are going to put up there, and that's why I participate in the political process because I don't want to be political. I want to get us to the point where that's not something that I have to do. I would much rather watch college football on Saturdays in the fall or watch 40 cars go around and turning left 500 times on a Sunday.
I always forget you're a NASCAR guy.
And so
he's no Harry.
Well, who is?
That's a pretty good point.
But I want to make my life the things that I enjoy, and so that's my role. And as far as politics goes, is I'm defending myself from what I know the authoritarians are up to.
Yeah. So then, for you, it's fundamentally a personal lifestyle decision is the best way to spread libertarianism.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Because it's passive. You don't have to plan an outreach event. Not saying that you shouldn't have outreach events. Active libertarian. I like to call it active libertarian income, where you're going out to the state fair or a gun show or Pride or a book fair, and you actually set up something like an Operation Politically Homeless booth, which you can get at theadvocates.org/OPH, where you're actually going out there and you're essentially preaching the good of libertarianism. You're interacting with people, you're introducing them to the idea, but that takes a lot of work. It's scheduling, it's actual work, it's making sure that you have materials.
Eye contact.
Yeah, you actually have to have conversations with people. If you just happen
this isn't alike.
if you happen to live the life that you're discussing, then that's always happening, and you don't have to think about it. And it's the very passive libertarian income.
Yeah,
right.
So to me, that's again
the core and
the
best way to create it.
Is I can do all these great things outreach wise, but I can still bring people in when I don't have that switch turned on.
Yeah.
Greg, what are some ways that you have noticed libertarians?
Noticed?
How have you noticed them? I mean,
what are my perceptions of them?
No, like what do you see them doing to spread? Like to me, to give an overarching view, I think there's running political campaigns, as you see in the LP, there or Rand Paul in the Liberty Caucus.
Yeah,
in the Republican Liberty Caucus.
I can almost just taste the disdain when you say it like that.
I like Ron Paul. I mean, and Rand Paul. I like him too. There is the educational aspect which you get with Cato, which also outputs, the more the media side with Reason and what we do here. You have people who they're social entrepreneurs, like you talked about. There are people. I was reading an article today. Wired came out today and endorsed Hillary Clinton, but they talked about the libertarian roots of Wired magazine in Silicon Valley.
Right.
People see technology as a form of libertarianism in a way,
sure,
because it frees us.
You could even take Abdul's idea of having the technocrats and replace that, and just have a computer make all the decisions for us,
right?
And then we wouldn't have the human element to screw it up.
I swear to God, I'm not obviously a fan of a universal income all the time, but if you remove all the welfare agencies and reduce government down to where it's essentially an arbiter of justice and an enforcement agency for that justice, and then you just offer everyone a universal basic income to eliminate poverty, where you deduct out housing, food, and healthcare, and travel, or transportation, then you could do that technocratically. You could do that with the Treasury through a series of debits and credits onto a credit card and replace every agency virtually completely, and you'd solve the budget deficit in no time, and you'd eliminate poverty completely. And so, that's what these disruptive effects, the disruptive network effects, have done. Like, public transportation is an issue of price. People can't afford it. All of a sudden, you create services like Lyft that don't have regulations and don't have licensing fees and all these things. It drops the price to a point where everyone can participate or even turn it into a career.
Well, and you take a look, Uber isn't looking to be the market leader in ride sharing. They are looking to replace owning a car.
Exactly.
Right, with their costs.
Which would be awesome, because then you don't have the costs of, maintenance and buying, depreciation, all the different issues, storing it. And
I don't know if you saw the news today. They're employing driverless cars in Pittsburgh.
They are. That's the future. And it'll be wonderful.
It's our path to flying cars, man.
And all we've got to stop us. I want a DeLorean that flies. If I live to see a day where a DeLorean flies, I'm good to go. That'll be.
I gotta have that stainless steel.
Me too.
1983 DeLorean, man.
God. But no,
I'll even put a fake flux capacitor in it. It'll be fantastic.
Yeah, I will. As far as libertarians go, though, for the best way of spreading it, it's about finding your role. Like, Brett lives it every day. Brett works for an organization. He goes to work every day, and it's about how to get more liberty down their throats.
Not exactly, but yeah.
It's about creating libertarians. And that, the hard part is exposure, but then creating them out of that exposure is consistently showing up. And so it's tough, because you're a brand everyone's a brand ambassador. Everyone is a evangelist. Everyone is a enthusiast. And you wear a lot of different hats, and because it's a smaller group and a growing group, everyone has to wear those hats.
Sure.
But in the media, it's people like it's Gary, it's Weld, it's all these guys, and Nick Gillespie. They're the brand ambassadors, and their job is to generate attention from the biggest groups.
Right.
You bring it down, and then it's the educational people. Then it's time to slowly process them down the funnel. But in order to create the movement, the most important people are the people in your social circle.
Yeah.
Then where you're the person identified as someone, hey, this person has a contagious enthusiasm and is fun, and I respect their opinion, and I like being around them. This is the kind of move. That's how Barack Obama did it in 2008.
Yeah.
He created a fun, enthusiastic, contagious environment that led into just a tidal wave of young people and people that coalesced around very few core issues. And that's what libertarianism has to do, especially the party and then the movement in general.
So if you were to give tips on being the libertarian ambassador, we'll save me for last on this. What are some tips on outreach that you'd notice? How would you? I'm running out of words, Brett. My words are running out.
Roads.
Yeah.
Rudes.
Watch out now,
Brett. If we are the ambassadors to libertarianism on our Facebook pages, and that is ultimately the key part in spreading the libertarian message.
Wait, being on Facebook?
Just being, no, I'm saying that in my social circle, for instance, I'm the libertarian guy.
Right.
And so when people in work, they walk in the green room and they see me, they go, hey, saw Gary Johnson, blah, blah, blah. 4 years ago, people asked, who you guys running? And now they're asking me about our candidate.
Sure.
And so I take the time to, whether I agree with Johnson on stuff or not, or Weld, I take the time to learn their positions, and I see it not as an opportunity to talk about what I think is the best. I choose to give information to my friend.
Sure.
And that's how I see social media. Like, to me, arguing, circle jerk stuff like Bill Weld isn't libertarian enough. He may not be, but I don't know that your public-facing page is necessarily the best place to have that discussion. It's probably better in private groups amongst libertarians, because that's going to be a more productive discussion. Because you're broadcasting when you're using your Facebook to people who are largely not libertarians. And so inside baseball doesn't work with those people.
Definitely doesn't.
So
doesn't work with us or anybody,
really.
Yeah. But I think people are hungry for information. And so if you're the libertarian guy and you're the one giving people information, then, I look at it and I go, I'm not going to start off that interaction with someone by saying, oh, you're interested in my candidate? Here's all the reasons that I hate him and you shouldn't vote for him. Now, if that guy's not your candidate, then you're absolved. You know what I mean? But don't, be sensitive to the fact that this person wants information, and it is, as the libertarian guy or girl in their circle, give them information. Let them make up their own mind.
Sure.
Because you may not like Gary Johnson, but they're probably not the rabid anti-statist that you are. They're probably a statist. And, the people listening to this, you may go, I don't get why people don't like Gary Johnson. I love Gary Johnson. And then in 8 years, you're going to go, Gary Johnson wasn't libertarian enough. We all start somewhere.
I will not bake the cake.
Right. So to me, it starts with the first principle of outreach starts with trying to see beyond yourself and your own desires, needs, and opinions.
Well, I think the best way to do that, honestly, is to consider that the interaction you're having with somebody is the first interaction that they've ever had with a libertarian before. And because first impressions matter,
what a thought,
we are going to have an opportunity to paint libertarians for them for the remainder of their life. So if we are upbeat, if we are nice, if we are examples of libertarianism, then we're going to make a positive first impression. The other thing to remember when you are reaching out to others, especially those that are not libertarian, is that you have to build rapport with somebody before you can have any sort of influence to persuade or convert. And I actually wrote about this in my column for The Liberator. As soon as Greg gets home, I know that he's going to read every article that we have in there because he's just signed up. Well, she does have one in there, but it's talking about how a literal concrete example of how you can build rapport by listening to what people's issues are, listening to the outcomes that they desire, congratulating them on having a great idea, because you take a look at a lot of the things that we want are very similar to what conservatives, liberals, centrists, and authoritarians want. The outcomes are similar. We want a well-educated populace. We want peace. We want prosperity. We want harmony. We want freedom. Now, those words are subjective, and people have different interpretations of what they mean. But if you understand the outcome that somebody is trying to get to, you can congratulate them on having a fantastic idea, and you've listened to them, and you've registered that you've listened to them, and you've given them positive feedback, reinforcing that they have good ideas. Then you can ask them the question that I think is one of the most important that we talked about on an earlier episode. You say, all right, that's a great idea. Now, how do you get there without using force? Because you can talk all you want about, making kids go to school because it's going to educate them and yada, 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 and you have compulsory education laws.
All the evidence to the contrary.
But unless people are engaged and want it, they're not going to absorb it. So what you have to do is you have to make it attractive. You have to incentivize it. You have to point out the positives that are there.
You got to sell.
You do. You absolutely have to sell. And it's really easy for the government to say, well, this is the law and this is what you must comply with. But you're always going to have people that are going to reject that and resist that. If you can make it so that it's attractive to go to school, whether it's private school, home school, unschool, public school, whatever, people are going to want the education because they're going to see success in the people that have gone through whatever path they've chosen. Even if it's, there are people that are going to be successful because they went to college. There are going to be people who are successful because they dropped out of college. There are going to be people who are never going to go the college route at all. They're going to be musicians or artists, but they're still going to be successful because they've chosen a path for themselves. And when you try to force compliance, what you end up getting is a one-size-fits-all solution, and you put everybody in a box. But we're not all going to fit in a box. We're going to be balloons that are popped because of X, Y, or Z within the framework of that box. And you're going to see people who excel, and this is something that I'm looking at right now with my nieces and nephews as they're going to school. They excel in certain areas, but those areas don't necessarily line up with what the people in Washington, D.C., in their case, in Atlanta or in Decatur, have decided this is what's happening. This is what you must learn. Everybody must go to college. That kind of mindset really hurts the people who maybe aren't good at math, but they're an amazing artist. And so you kind of, to get back around to where we started, I don't even remember where that was, but it was being the first libertarian that anybody's ever met.
Yeah,
building rapport,
the first impression,
coming to outcomes, and then challenging them with questions that show that you've actually listened, but they aren't necessarily a challenge in that you're trying to start an argument or a fight.
Yeah.
You're trying to learn more about their view, and then you ask them questions like, okay, well, that's great, but how do we do that without forcing people?
Yeah.
How do we do that in a way that works for Chris, for Greg, for Brett, for Cornelius, for Mittens?
Mm-hmm.
We're all going to have different things that fit for us.
Yeah.
And so we have to ask questions to see what fits.
Really, libertarianism, in the age of mass customization, we're the only solution that offers it.
Yeah.
And we're the only solution that offers multiple possible philosophies to live, to coexist. In a libertarian world, in a voluntary society, you can have a group of socialists who voluntarily decide that they want to
socialize,
but that they want to pool all their resources together, and for each according to their ability,
to each according to their need. God, what a crap line!
But in a libertarian society, that can occur.
Yeah.
In a socialist society, you couldn't have a libertarian individualism.
No.
Because you're all part of the collective. You can have a very socially conservative society within a libertarian, or a segment within a libertarian society, because those people have all voluntarily decided that they want to live that way. Mm-hmm. You can have a libertine society within a voluntary association where people are doing literally whatever.
You can have
as
Caligula,
long as
the Amish.
You're exactly
whatever
right.
you need.
And it can all coexist because everything is voluntary. And to me, that's an important thing to point out. Without force, without compliance, without the monopoly on force that government has, people are able to live voluntarily. They're able to interact voluntarily. They're able to congregate with like people to live in a way that they've decided is best for them. And libertarianism in a voluntary society is literally the only way that all of those people can coexist, because all of those other philosophies and thought processes require force unless they are all voluntarily agreed to. And, it's the whole idea of the social contract, that because just you were born within these borders, which are imaginary lines drawn on a map, that this is the way that you must live. And libertarianism, voluntary society are things that all of that stuff can coexist. But we're not going to be able to exist within their philosophical bent.
No, diversity has no place in their, political philosophies.
Sure. Greg, thoughts on being a good libertarian, messaging it?
Messaging it, be approachable. don't focus on what libertarianism is and what it prescribes and how best it suits that person. It starts with finding out what that person cares about and what's most important to them. Once that happens, then turn it around on them. I know I wrote 4 years ago that Ultimate Guide to Libertarian Sales Guide, and it really is. It's the spin selling model for how to get someone to arrive at the conclusion you want. So you have situational questions. Well, what's going on in this election? What's really bugging you? Then you have the the problem questions. What's causing you problems with this situation? Then you have the implication questions, which are, if you could have that problem solved, how would that help you? And then you have the need payoff. So if you did have that problem solved, what would the benefits be to having that solved? You walk them through that sales process and you're going to arrive at the destination you want, because I do believe most people are inherently libertarian. I don't believe people like to use force, but you have to be approachable and you have to not spout what libertarianism is. Now, granted, for Brett, it's different because he gets paid to do that. So I'm not talking about Brett. I'm talking about, me and anyone you engage with in your social network. Like when you're a brand ambassador, you have a different role. When you are just a Libertarian Party member enthusiastic about your movement and you're trying to create new libertarians, your role is to be unassuming, talk to people, see what they care about, and then help them realize force isn't the way, and that will naturally sort of crack down their barriers.
So we shouldn't force libertarianism onto people.
Well, so to speak.
So to speak. Now, we can always physically remove Democrats and communists. No, but yeah, that's the key. The hardest thing about libertarianism is we're at a funny point. It's all right before us. So we're angsty, we're anxious, like there's this big movement, and we want to just go screaming from a mountaintop about how great it is, but it comes across, it can be a deterrent. It can be desperate, needy, and angsty, and we have to be careful that, that we are the cool new thing, and we have to play that role. We have to let people come to us rather than going out and trying to force it down people's throats. Now, people are naturally seeking us out, but we have to, regardless of, oh, yeah, I like Gary Johnson. Oh, well, what did you like about him? What was it? What really struck a chord with you about what he said? How do you feel about these other issues? Is this what you're primarily going to vote upon? So
you're exit polling for people that are coming to you, asking you about Gary Johnson.
Precisely. Never make it about you or what libertarianism is. Make it until they ask specific questions about that.
So where do we see libertarianism going?
I think it's happening. I mean, we're there. We're seeing exactly. I mean, we're on the precipice of the most libertarian moment we've ever had.
Yeah.
We're seeing that people are rejecting the old parties. They're rejecting what the old parties have created.
The people in the old parties.
That's just the political aspect of things. But you also are seeing freedoms that libertarians have been talking about for 50 years coming to fruition.
It really is happening.
Legalizing marijuana, they thought was crazy in 1971, and we have 2 states that have legalized it recreationally, where we have 24 states that have legalized it for medical use. We have various decriminalization efforts happening across the country. It is a mainstream thing to be in favor of marijuana legalization. And you take a look at 45 years ago, it was a pipe dream. You also take a look at 45 years ago, who would have thought that 2 dudes could get married? Seriously. Right. I mean,
I know I dreamed about it all of the time.
The meme just came into my mind. You mean a dink? You can go in a dink and it's a priest.
He's live beaming right now.
But in 1971, who would have thought that in 2015 we would have had the Obergefell decision, which... they were just reeling from Loving versus Virginia, which did away with the anti-miscegenation laws. And now we're talking a completely different thing. Look at all of those issues have been driven by libertarians and have been championed by libertarians from the very beginning of the libertarian movement. We're also seeing that pop culture is embracing us. We never would have had a Ron Swanson 20 years ago.
No.
We never would have had the character that David Duchovny played on Californication.
Hell, V for Vendetta.
V for Vendetta, the Lego movie, all of the anti-authoritarian things that we're seeing in films. Captain America. A lot of the Marvel series
Yeah.
is very anti-authoritarian.
Privatized world peace.
You do. You also saw the Matrix trilogy. Yeah. So there are a lot of things that are out there. You know, one of the things that I've really enjoyed is seeing the Hunger Games.
Yep.
And I'd never read the books.
He meant he went to the actual Hunger Games. He wore his outfit with all the big hair.
But seeing some of the things that are happening
culturally
in pop culture, it's mainstream. We're no longer on the outside. It's not just reading Ayn Rand.
I saw Atlas Shrugged.
Hiding in your dorm room reading Atlas Shrugged.
Yeah.
You know, we're actually seeing real cultural immersion of libertarian ideas, or at least anti-authoritarian
It's
ideas.
an odd collectively cultural mindset shift.
Oh,
but
sure.
It's also odd to look down and see CNN and the Indy Star and all these news outlets that you follow send out a push notification with the word libertarian.
Oh, yeah. I never in a million years would I have thought that was going to happen.
It really is a great feeling for something that you believed in and fought for and have been screaming in the wilderness, and it's finally starting to come to fruition. And that work, when when you believe in something so much and you're giving 80-90 hours a week to it, and your wife is pissed off at you. Sorry, I'm starting to project. And people go, "You're just crazy. You're nuts. Whatever."
Did you see Harry Brown's 1996 and 2000 infomercials when he was running for president?
No.
Would you have ever believed that late night TV infomercials about libertarianism would have been in prime time on
Would you ever
CNN?
believe that the Republican Party would have a guy who had infomercials in the mid-90s as their nominee?
Yeah. No kidding.
Interesting times indeed.
So where do you see libertarianism going?
Oh, it's all upside from here. It's a unstoppable movement because it is a cultural mindset shift that's going on. It is a live and let live generation. Ours is, and ours is more cynical and skeptical than I think idealistic. Yeah. I think the baby boomers failed in creating the cultural changes they wanted to because they were easily they were very idealistic and then fell into a culture of fear in the 1990s. They were. And we're so skeptical and desensitized, and we have access to immediate information, instantaneously, as much as we want. It's abundant, and we don't trust. We're a little less trusting. We are very untrusting of leadership, and I see everything growing and rising from here. I think the political landscape is really going to shift. I don't necessarily believe like the Libertarian Party is going to be the vessel that takes it forward, but I think it will be a merger and a rebirth of some sort of new party between the economic conservatives, like the Mitch Daniels Republicans, and the Libertarian Party. And that means there's going to be some painful ass growing pains because, my God, this one was painful. You start throwing in people like... You start throwing in a bunch of Bill Welds in with a bunch of Star Childs, and you're going to see fist fights. NAP be damned. You're going to see some real fist fights. But that day's coming, and that's a good thing, because that means the movement's growing, and we'll get over it. We'll hash it out. We'll hate each other. We'll threaten to go start new little, parties, but then we'll coalesce and get in line and be like, all right, well... Just don't sit him next to me at the next LNC meeting, But I look forward to it because I think it's all upside from here, and I think Gary's the perfect representative. I know we had a conversation earlier about how mentally taxing this has been.
Yeah,
just drain, and like I shockingly haven't experienced it, and to hear what you two have been going through for 3 months.
This is the third side. Yeah,
here I was.
This is my third presidential cycle.
Too, yeah.
I thought the criticisms of Gary Johnson were that he wasn't statist enough in taking his having a cabinet ready and a team of economic advisors from good schools.
Right.
Come to find out, that isn't the case at all. It's that the cake thing. Boy, people are.
It's a real
pissed.
thing.
Yeah.
The cake.
No, unfortunately, I get the vibe that post election, Gary Johnson, sadly, will be. it will not be popular. He'll
such
be
a tragedy.
He'll be
He's a great man.
It is. He's a great guy. He's done a lot for libertarianism. He is a libertarian, and he has done a lot in these last 2 cycles to help get us to this point. And libertarians are just ungrateful jerks sometimes, and I hate that. But it's the solution. What is it?
The solution to pollution is dilution. That's something my friend Nick Sarwark reminds me of almost daily.
And so
he might get a helicopter ride.
So if you see people that are that don't agree with you, or they're saying, because the one thing that really drives me crazy, and Brett and I have talked about this, the barriers to becoming a libertarian. People put up weird things that they wouldn't put up. Like I had a discussion recently, and they were like, "Well, I'd be a libertarian if you and Melissa Donaghy hadn't fought online." And I go, "Okay." So you look at a person who hasn't held a position in the Libertarian Party of Indiana for 4 years, and a person who can't win a delegate spot in the Libertarian Party and has never held an official position. And that is your standard for the entire Libertarian Party and movement is out of control and just as dysfunctional as the other 2 parties. That's 2 individuals. I don't see 2 individual Republicans fighting on Facebook and say the entire Republican Party is out of control. Now I see the presidential candidate, and I think
was gonna say, the times have changed because he gets into flame wars on Twitter, and Hillary Clinton responds with "delete your account."
You guys had a naked guy dancing on stage. Yeah, well, we kicked him out of the party. We didn't nominate him for president. So
careful.
Well,
there's going to be a wall.
He gets a helicopter ride. But
he has his own.
Somebody sees a guy on stage, and he is then escorted out of the building for his insane behavior, and that becomes a barrier for people to join the libertarian movement. It
became the excuse that they were looking for.
It's the out.
It's the convenient excuse that people find in their mind to not be bold, to not have courage.
It's the same as I would love Ron Paul except for his foreign policy.
Right.
Well, now you nominated the guy that's got the same foreign policy as the Ronimal. So,
right.
There's all...
I don't know about that.
He does.
I don't know about that.
I swear to God. The neocons are screaming and endorsing Hillary.
The problem...
Bill Kristol's endorsing Hillary Clinton.
I know, but the problem is Ron Paul has a track record of being consistent.
I'm saying, but we don't have anything to base it off of yet.
Right.
Yeah, so he's not as trustworthy. It's just that as announced of yet.
Air coming out of his mouth is as valuable to me as it coming out of his house. So, ass. So anyways...
well, that was tawdry.
I'm very naughty. All right, kids, we got to wrap up because if you can't tell by my questions the last few, I'm running out of steam.
Running out of steam.
Give me your general observations about libertarians. They have excellent hygiene.
I know. Of all
lots of fedoras.
All the weeks for my hero, who's the guy that died? John McLaughlin. Brett Bittner. I love John McLaughlin. My lifelong dream of being on the McLaughlin. It's Jack Drum. Now who's going to take Pat Buchanan seriously?
I don't know. Maybe he'll predict more weather from Scripture.
No, that's
Pat Robertson.
Pat Robertson. Pat Buchanan's the guy who ran for president in '96.
Pre-Trump.
Pre-Trump. He was the first Trump. Okay, so we got to wrap up. So the future of libertarianism is bright, and if you are new to libertarianism, we are glad you were here. You were in the right place. And don't put on those freedoming glasses. I swear to God, Bittner. I don't know why we had him on.
We had him on?
We didn't have him on. He forced himself on us.
Yeah.
It
was podcast rape.
This is a violation of the Pod M&AP. Podnap. All right, kids, thank you for joining us here on this episode of We Are Libertarians. If you want to know more about libertarianism, you can go to We Are Libertarians, and you can find a bunch of links. You can also go to libertarianism.com, and you can press buttons, and you can and you can go to your podcast app.
Ringing endorsement.
Oh my God!
Type out libertarians.
They shouldn't have deleted the path to libertarianism.
Nope.
Listen, I worked hard on that. You hurt me. Brett Bittner. I spent so many hours trying to educate people, and you don't care.
No, I just took your idea and made it better. Like everything in my life, I take an idea that Spangle has, I improve upon it, and he complains about the fact that it's successful.
Well, it's new, so we don't know if it's successful. And mine was never really given a chance. And it really does, I mean, let's be honest, it's a pale comparison, right? And by making...
We have a path of libertarian. Is this a podcast?
What's going on?
Where am I?
The idea that he took my idea and made it better. Do you know what he did? He made videos of himself. That's not making it better.
And
for
Chloe.
anyone. Well, Chloe's a dish, as the kids say. As they say on Black Instagram, that girl is a dish. She is hot to trot. Oh wait, did I just call Chloe a slut? I mean,
oh my.
Oh well, I'm just kidding.
God,
we love
swear to
you.
God.
We love you, No Show and Nagnos. Thank you for joining us, and as always, we promise
To do better next time. Never Bittner.
and no more Bittner. We swear by it. This episode of We Are Libertarians is brought to you by Audible.com. Enjoy one free audiobook courtesy of We Are Libertarians. Choose from more than 100,000 audiobook titles, including works by Ron Paul, Walter Block, Murray Rothbard, and the Cato Institute. Audible.com also has audio of radio and TV programs and audio versions of magazines and newspapers. You can get the Audible app on any mobile device or download the audio to your computer. Go to audibletrial.com/WAL or head to WeareLibertarians.com and find the link to get one free month of Audible today. Thank you for listening to the We Are Libertarians Network. Get our other shows at WeareLibertarians.com.